Welcome, everybody, to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. As you know, I talk about 4 different types of freedom: time, financial, location, health freedom. In that light, I'm always interviewing entrepreneurs, guests, people doing things on the cutting edge, and sharing those messages with the audience. So today we have Scott White, and his mantra is "The life is too short, guy." And so we're going to be talking all about attitude, looking for humor, the value of time, and making every moment precious. So I'll introduce Scott and welcome to the show. So Scott, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be on.
Yeah, I know we're connected through Podmatch, and you're chiming in from New Jersey. Tell us more about your story, background, and we'll get started.
Awesome. Well, today I'm an author, which I'm really excited about, and that's my passion at the moment. I recently published a book called "The Life is Too Short, Guys: Strategies to Make Every Day the Best Day Ever." And right now it is my mission. My mission is to make the world happier, one smile at a time. And it's sort of how I'm defining myself. Separate from that, I'm married to my high school sweetheart and have 2 wonderful daughters. My day job is in real estate. I'm the chairman and CEO of a public real estate company. I'm also a partner and founder of a student housing development company. So I got a few things going on, but right now I'm really excited and fired up about making the world happier, one smile at a time.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I got my freedom through real estate and wanted to share that with the audience. So tell us, so we'll talk about, today's going to be all about the life is too short philosophy. And so just as a background, walk us through what this philosophy is.
Sure. So it is a philosophy that I've assembled over the course of my life. There wasn't one pivotal moment that created this philosophy. And during COVID, I sort of had this moment, this epiphany, where somebody actually called me for the first time. It was an executive coach I was working with. He literally said to me, he's like, "Dude, you are like Mr. Life is Too Short guy. Everything is happy. Everything is great. Everything's get it done today." And then I mentioned the concept to my wife, and she said to me, "Wow, maybe that's your book. Maybe that's the book you always wanted to write." And that's sort of what spawned it. It's been an evolution over the course of my life where what I'd say to people is it's a very practical, approachable, live in the moment type philosophy. It's not by design some sort of, change your whole life, change your whole perspective. Starting, we're talking now, it's January, and all of a sudden I have a whole new life. That's not it, because I think it's really hard for people to just say, all right, well, yesterday I was Dr. Christopher Lee, and today I don't know, something new. The goal is to make small changes in a very practical way. All right, so now the question is, well, what do you mean by small changes in a practical way? So there are 10 tenets or 10 principles. I won't go through them all, but the foundational one, the most important one, is attitude is everything, the power of positivity. There is so much that we can control. A lot of people don't realize this, that as you look at what controls your happiness, I think most people will generally believe or revert to, well, it's your circumstances, your house, your car, your family, your health, good or bad, right? So getting married is fantastic, getting divorced, not so fantastic. That controls my happiness. Believe it or not, that only controls 10% of your happiness. Your circumstances control 10% of your happiness. Okay. So Scott, that leaves 90% of the pie. What's that 90% that leads to happiness? Well, about 50% is genetic, just like your eye color and your hair color and your height. It is genetic and you can't control that. But wow, what about that other 40%? The other 40% is right here. It's all in your perspective and your approach and how you view the world. And what I tell people as a starting proposition, you want one simple, easy takeaway, although I'll give you a whole bunch of them. One simple, easy takeaway. I ask you right now, what was your first thought when you woke up this morning?
For me, it was, how can I accomplish the day? How can I add value and create value and share with the world? That was me.
I think that's great. I think that's wonderful, and that was a positive perspective. I am going to guess, as people listen to this show, and if they're driving, they can't close their eyes, so I'm not going to suggest that. But if they just take a minute and close their eyes and think about what was my first thought, most won't know what it is. And those that do know, I think more often than not, it's going to be Oh, it's cold. It's dark. I have 1,000 things to do today. I can't believe I have to meet with so and so. I have this awful blah. That's wrong. You have the ability to wake up, open your eyes, smile, and like you said, make it a great day. Make it the best day. One of my mantras is making every day the best day ever. And people are like, come on, really, Scott, making every day the best day ever? What about the day you got married? What about the day your kids were born? I'm like, those are wonderful. Those were among the best days ever. But I have a fighting chance today to make it the best day ever. And the best way to do that is to start as soon as I wake up. So I'm going to tell you right now, today, it's the middle of the winter here in New Jersey. It's cold, it's dark. I ran 8 miles this morning. When I woke up, I opened my eyes, I smiled, I looked over and I saw my wife still sleeping. And I'm like, fantastic. I am so grateful, happy, and fortunate that the love of my life is next to me. I'm grateful that I'm under warm covers. I'm grateful I have the ability to get out of bed and go out and run. I'm grateful that my daughter, who is normally at college, is home for the holiday break. I'm grateful that I have a chance to be on this amazing podcast and meet your audience. And by the way, we're now 10 seconds into my day. 10 seconds. And that's the truth. That's not revisionist me going back and tell you what I thought. That's what I thought. Very simple, very practical, very, approachable. These are easy differences, easy changes. I'm looking at you right now smiling, right? And that's wonderful. You are smiling. How often do people proactively think to smile? It has been proven that smiling creates chemical interactions in the brain. It produces certain chemicals that make you happier, make others happier. Think about smiling more often. We all say, oh yeah, of course I smile, but do you really? Do you really when you're driving? Do you really when you're making dinner? Do you really when the kids come home? Do you really when you wake up in the morning? I bet you don't. Here's your chance to spend more time smiling. No one has ever over smiled.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, especially in we know living in we're living in very uncertain times, and just things are just, we can't get our hands around it. How did you develop this philosophy, and it's beautiful that you wrote a book about it. Who are you trying to target with this book?
So the development came over the course of my life. There were a couple of, I think, major milestones. The very first one, when I was 10 years old, I was working with my dad, and we were doing some rehab around the house, and he cut himself, and he cut his finger. He had to go to the hospital, and that night my mom came running to my room and said, Dad had a heart attack in the hospital. I was 10 years old, and this was in the mid-1980s. Dad subsequently, a few weeks later, had to fly out to Houston, your home base, and had triple bypass surgery. This is 1984, and you're talking about a different time, a different era. This was the first time as a 10-year-old where I realized life is precious, life is short, life is finite, make the most of it. Dad survived, and Dad went on to live about another 25 years after that. He did pass away about 12, 13 years ago. So that was sort of another major milestone for me, is losing a parent. I lost my mom a few years after that. And these were all elements of make the most of today. I think too often, as your listeners think about it, they know stories of people that have had major aha moments. They've had an epiphany in life, usually as a result of a negative event. They've dealt with death, they've dealt with illness, they've dealt with injury. I want people to have that aha moment right now. As you're listening to this show, I want the light bulb to go off and be like, this crazy guy has kind of something here. I don't have to wait for that kick in the teeth. Today's the day that I'm going to embrace. I'm going to live a happier life. I'm going to be more proactive and positive. And now to the second point of your question, who's this book for? That's the beauty of it. It is truly for everyone. I wrote it very thoughtfully and carefully to make it practical and approachable. So it's not an academic piece. This is not for the elitists. This is not for those that love to read. In fact, I would challenge all of your listeners that don't love to read, go out and find this book. Go out and find this book and read it. Why? One, it's a fast read. Two, it's full of stories, both my own and other people's stories. So I do pack it with those proverbial aha moments that we just talked about. Unfortunately, people have them. And in the book, you're going to learn about someone that is a quadriplegic, and you're going to learn about someone who attempted to commit suicide. And you're going to learn about someone whose own young child died, and what their takeaways were, what their lessons were. And I want readers to say, you know what? I'm not waiting for that. I'm going to live my best life today. So I think this book is so practical, so approachable for everybody. If you can read, you can buy this book. And by the way, if you can't read or don't really like to read it, it'll be out on audiobook in a few months.
Nice. And I'm going to check it out on Amazon right after this. And so one thing is, especially with if we're a lot of the audience is they're part of them are entrepreneurs, but some of them actually, they work in a corporation, in a corporate setting, and so how can they incorporate these types of philosophies into their workspaces?
Oh, fantastic. There's so much you can bring to the workplace. And one of the things I'm very fortunate, grateful, and blessed is that I am chairman and CEO of a public real estate company where our company's been recognized as one of the best places to work for the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm really proud of that. And why is that? One, it's part of this mantra, it's part of this philosophy. It's show up every day, be grateful, be happy. I am grateful for my team, and they know it. They know it all the time. Let the people you know around you how important they are. There is very little hierarchy in our organization, and that's important. It's not just by title. It's about respecting people, treating them as human beings, treating them as colleagues and friends, and less focus on the managerial style that makes people want to leave organizations. I just saw a statistic which blew my mind. 95% of all employees in the United States right now are considering leaving their job. 95%, and 61% of that same group are burnt out. How is that possible? Why do things unless you love doing them? Create an environment where people enjoy. They feel like they're empowered. They feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. They feel like there's more to do than just grind away on a daily basis. Give people flexibility. Give people opportunities to learn, to grow. One of the things I talk about in the book, one of the 10 principles is learn. I think it's so important that you learn something new every day. And we give our team the opportunities to learn things, not just professionally. You want to, there's someone on the team that wanted to learn to be a photographer. And we said, go out, take some photography classes. We'd be happy to reimburse you. And oh, by the way, why don't you take pictures at our next event? These are opportunities you can create within your organizations to give people empowerment, to give people an opportunity to learn, to give people a platform to grow on, to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah. So inspiring. And as we're nearing the conclusion of our talk, but what are some strategies, like specific strategies to make every day the best day ever, make every second count?
Sure. Well, first of all, as I said, smile when you wake up. That's the easiest one. Smile, be grateful, be happy. Think about random acts of kindness. When was the last time you performed a random act of kindness? Or when was the last time you were a recipient of a random act of kindness? And in the book, I talk about how I'm a runner, and my very first marathon, some person I'd never met before and I'd never seen again helped me get across the finish line. Total random act of kindness. That helps create a better environment for you, for everyone. Look at the world through a positive lens. There's so many opportunities when you receive an email, you receive a call, you're meeting with somebody, and you know that there's an opportunity for negativity, for disagreement. No matter what the facts are, you could find a way to spin that in a happy way. Find humor wherever you are. I like to quote the famous literary Dr. Seuss, from there to here, from here to there. Funny things are everywhere, and you could find humor anywhere. Humor is a great way to take yourself less seriously, take the world around you less seriously, no matter what the circumstance. You can be in the middle of, I'll give you an example I talk about in the book. I mentioned to you that my father passed away, I guess it's about 15 years ago now, and I remember standing at the funeral home over the coffin before everyone came in. This is kind of one of the low points of my life, and my phone rang. And for most people, they'd be mortified. Instead, for me, I'm like, you know what? Regardless of the situation, there's humor anywhere. And I literally reached in my pocket, I grabbed the phone out, immediate family standing around me. I'm like, hey, Dad, how are you? What are you up to? Right. I love the reaction. You laughed, and so did the people around me. It's just an example of wherever you are, you could find humor. Take yourself less seriously. Celebrate constantly. I don't, that whole sort of, we give trophies to too many kids and there's no pay for performance. No, I don't believe that at all. I think that we don't celebrate enough. Yes, we need to separate people. We need to reward outperformance. I got that. But celebrate small victories. Celebrate as you're listening to this right now. Maybe you're driving home tonight. Do something special for dinner. Celebrate celebrate this podcast. You get home, you're sitting around, you're like, wow, Dr. Lou had an amazing podcast today I want to tell you about. Let's have a glass of wine to that. Let's go out for a special dinner. Find small ways to celebrate constantly. Don't wait for that big epiphany to celebrate, because it may never come. Finally, think about minutes matter. Make the most of every minute. And I'm not going to judge or give you kind of a guideline for how you use your minutes. Everyone needs to choose on their own how to use their minutes. What I do caution people is that, I think of, and I ask people to think of it, the mental image of a barrel. The barrel is the minutes you have left in your life. And in it, for me, it's a wine barrel I like to think about, but you can think about any barrel you want. There's little gold coins. And every time I do something, I reach in and I pull out a gold coin and I use that minute. Regardless of how I use it or how you use it, do you know how you're using those minutes? Are you being thoughtful with how you're using those minutes? Are you being deliberate in how you're using those minutes? And by the way, if you don't like how you're using those minutes, then stop. Stop, because those minutes aren't going to last forever, and you have no idea when there's going to be a hole or the bottom's going to fall out and the minutes are going to disappear. Make the most of every minute.
Yeah, and as we conclude this session, if there was one key takeaway for your listeners, what would it be?
Attitude is everything. The power of positivity. It's all here. This is everything, regardless of your circumstances. And people say to me, well, look, you have a great job, you have a great life, you have a great family, whatever the case may be, God bless, thank you. Regardless, as I did research and I think about some of the poorest people in the world that are just trying to survive, some of them are the happiest people in the world. It's all here. The power of positivity. You have the ability to control your happiness. Take charge.
Fantastic. With that, how can people follow you on social media, visit your website, check out your book, and contact you?
That'd be wonderful. Look, you can find the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and in bookstores near you. You could check out my website at lifeistooshortguy.com. Feel free to reach out and email me at scott@scottewhite.com. That's scott@scottywhite.com. You can find me on social media, Life is Too Short Guy. I'm all over, and I will be touring the country throughout 2023, doing speaking engagements to the extent anyone wants to bring this energy and this philosophy and this happiness into their company or into their organization. Please reach out and let me know. I'd love to do it.
Yeah. And for all the listeners out there, Scott's resources will be in links in show notes. Be sure to check out his book, follow him on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. And with that, thanks so much for dropping so much wisdom, and thanks for coming onto the show.
Thank you.